think we're in. Yeah, there we go. Make sure I got these settings right really quick. Alright. So, guys, welcome to the best baits for November. So, like I said, every month I'm going to start doing this and kind of just break down what I like to use. Now, this time it's really kind of going to be short and sweet because everything's kind of real simple fishing right now, which is great. It makes everything a lot easier, in my opinion. So, but let's just go ahead and jump into it. If you're catching this later on, you can kind of, fast forward through whatever you need to. But one of the first ones I want to talk about is an underspin. So, underspin when it comes to finesse presentations is going to be perfect. I like going with a 1/4 ounce or a 3/8 ounce. The 3/8 ounce if I need speed, the 1/4 ounce if I need to keep it right below the surface. But one of the things that I like to do, I like running the 6 cents Divine on my underspins this time of year. It just buttons up to it real nice and it swims straight. It does everything real good. And another thing, guys, I may be a little short on breath and stuff. I've got my sinuses are just absolutely demolished from this weather. But either way, the underspin is going to be great, especially when you see those fish start pushing shad up in these creeks, up in the first part of the creeks, or all the way to the backs of the creeks. Anytime they're chasing shad, you can use that to bust up bait balls, or run it right over the top of fish's heads and get them to commit a lot easier. Now, another one, and I'm only going to give you two finesse presentations because there's not a whole lot of finesse that you really need to do this time of year. It's going to be a little tough. Like right now, the past couple weeks, it has been extremely tough on the water, but as it progresses, it's going to get a little bit better. So it usually doesn't last a while, but just a couple weeks, and then they start grouping back up and getting very, very predictable places. Now, the next one's going to be a shad wrap. Okay, the shad wrap, the Rapala shad wrap, it's tough to throw this bait because it's so light. It's made out of balsa wood, so if you're trying to throw it on a bait caster, it's about impossible. What I typically do, I throw it on a medium heavy spinning rod, 8 pound test, and it works perfect. But it's very, very subtle action crankbait that just triggers a lot of bites this time of year. Um, so those are really just my two finesse style baits that I like to run. I don't really run a whole lot of finessey stuff. What's up? Glad to see you here, man. But I don't really run a whole lot of finessey stuff during the fall because you really need to cover water this time of year. A lot of people, have been fishing all through the spring, all through the summer, so a lot of these fish have just about seen everything. But this time of year, they really get to spreading out. So covering water is going to be more important than anything. So a lot of these baits are going to be, really focused on that. Serenity, what's up? Glad to see you. So, talking about covering water, the first one I want to talk about is a buzz bait, a master baiter. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and fix this real quick. All right. All right, guys. So, if you come on the stream, trying to, you know, just act goofy and stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and remove you. So, but either way, talking about covering water, you're going to 2 seconds. Okay. All right. So, talking about moving baits, one of the most important ones is going to be a buzz bait. Okay. So the buzz bait, you can just cover tons of water. It's the buzz bait is one of those top baits that, yeah, it's a top water bait, but when water conditions get right, muddy, windy, even calm water, a buzz bait is perfect. Give me just a second, guys. 2 seconds. All right, there we go. Sorry, I had a package come in for FedEx, but either way, the buzzbait's going to be perfect for covering tons of water. You can just cover tons of water, and you're going to be able to eliminate a lot of water. Okay, so what you're really looking for is active fish. Okay, because this time of year, you have a lot of inactive fish and you have a lot of active fish. The inactive fish are the ones that you pretty much always don't want to be around. So, the War Eagle buzzbait, the Brazalo Custom Lures buzzbait, those are all great baits. But just choosing it, it really depends. Do you want a loud squelch? Do you want kind of like that quiet thump? That's really all you got to decide on. And then obviously color. This time of year, I really like going with white. With that muddy water, this rain starts coming in and stuff. They're a lot. It's a lot easier for the fish to target the white baits. Now, if I'm dealing with a little bit clearer water, I like going with the darker baits, or going with something like the Berkeley, what is this called, flux gill. Okay, so the flux gill, in this color right here, I think it's let's see here, blue pearl hologram. So it's like a real natural color to the fish. So anything that you can do in clear water that mimics the natural forage, and then anything in the muddier water that just brightens it up, gives them something to target, those are going to be your best bets. Now, another one that's been very productive this whole year for me especially is chatterbaits. Now, this is a new one. I hadn't got the chance to try it, but I've heard it's very close to the jackhammer chatterbait. So, but it's like half the price. This bait's like $5.99, but it's made by Hags Baits. Just I haven't got to try it yet, but I'm fixing to start wearing it out. So let's see here. Do you have any tips on getting catfish off the hook? Because give me just a second. I don't know why the chat always pops up and then disappears. Do you have any tips on getting the catfish off the hook? Because I really struggle to get off. Getting catfish off a hook. I don't catfish much at all. Uh, Really, just a good pair of pliers and get you some good gloves. You could go to somewhere like Harbor Freight or something like that. Get you a good pair of like leather work gloves or something like that. That way you can get a good grip on the fish. And they have this like the jaw grips and stuff you can get from just about anywhere, like Walmart or Tackle Warehouse or whatever, where you can actually grip the lip of the fish and then work it off. Oh, they get on your line. Oh. Yeah, I really don't. I really don't. I have no idea. I don't really run into that problem. The only problem that I run into with catfish is typically like when reeling a crankbait or something. There happens to be a catfish swimming around or something. Hook it in the tail or the side or something like that. That's usually about the only time that I have issues with catfish. But even then, I usually just try to grab the hook with pliers and pull it out. But if they're getting tangled up in your line, I don't really know a way to mitigate that problem. uh, they broke one of my fishing poles off before. Yeah, I bet. I know a lot of the bigger catfish, they can tear up some stuff very quick. For the Do you have any advice for the fishing on general? I'm not sure what you're talking about, fishing on general. Um, yeah. Yeah, I know catfish. They can be very aggravating, especially the bigger catfish. We had some friends of mine a while back. They ended up catching, I don't know how many, over 20 pounds, but they were targeting them. So, but moving on, talking about the chatterbait, a chatterbait's just going to be a great option whether you're dealing with stained water, even clear water. So, if I'm fishing in clear water, I like going with something like the Mini Max and that spot sticker color and stuff like that. Great options, but there's two different style trailers that I like to run. So if I'm running the Mini Max, I like going with something like that Rapala Mooch Minnow. It's a smaller, compact style trailer, but it still gives that bait, a good action. Now with your normal size like your jackhammers, 3/8 ounce, half ounce, stuff like that, I like going with the freeloader. Anything that's got like that 5/0 hook, perfect, fits up just well. Now another one that these two right here kind of gonna go together because you people who've been on my channel for a while, y'all know like during this time of year I throw a lot of flat-sided crankbaits. Now Strike King has come out with this one. We got to mess around with this a lot over the weekend. But this is a Strike King chick magnet. It's a flat-sided crankbait. If you can't tell how thin it is, it's got kind of like that paper bill. Let's see here. Let's try to say. So, any tips fishing in general? So, I'm guessing when you're asking about tips for fishing in general, you're specifically talking about this time of year. Um, yeah, so all these baits that I'm talking about is kind of going to go hand in hand with this time of year. Um, so, these like I said, the flat sided baits. So your crankbaits that are flat sided, these thinner style, especially with that paper lip and stuff like that, or it's like a soft plastic style lip. It gives the bait a tighter wiggle. It's they're really hard to beat this time of year because you're going to notice a lot of these fish are going to push up on these flats and kind of scatter out. So when they scatter out, you kind of got to cover water. You could end up fishing one spot for however long, but I like covering water with flat-sided crankbaits. Now, there's two that I like going with. If I'm dealing with clean water, I like going with something like that green gizzard shad. It's a natural color. If I'm dealing with dirtier or staineder water, I like going with something like that citrus, chartreuse. Just gives contrast to the water. I mean, keep all your colors very simple. No problem. No problem. But another one, this one's kind of going to go hand in hand, but this is one of those where, those square bills are reaching 2 to 3 foot deep. I need to get down maybe that 5 to 6. And this one right here is going to be perfect for that. This is going to be that KVD flat-sided crankbait. This is a round lip bait, but it's still kind of got that wobble action, but it's a little tighter. This is one that I really like to use anytime I'm fishing those channel swings, anything with deeper water. It's a great it's just a great option when you're trying to get in a little bit deeper water. I would highly suggest always keep something like that flat-sided square bill tied on and then the flat-sided round bill, and that way you can get, kind of in the both parts. Now, the next one is going to be a rattle trap. So sticking to those flat-sided baits, the rattle trap, I like going with a little bit different one. This is a Booyah hard knock, okay? So it's got that hard knocking sound instead of just multiple rattles and stuff like that. This is a great option to cover any part of the water column. You can fish this thing a multitude of different ways. So whether you're running through brush, you're jigging that bait, or you're ripping it, reeling it, whatever the case may be, you can fish this bait a multitude of different ways. And with that different sound, it seems like this time of year it gets a lot more bites. Now, I really like this color. It's like that graffiti crawl with some chartreuse on it, because typically toxic baits, okay, but either way, anything that kind of puts out a lot of contrast in the water is a great option. The last one that I want to talk about, you guys who's been fishing, during the fall for years, y'all understand, especially if you're not in the woods deer hunting most of the time, that a lot of these fish, especially when these fronts and stuff come through, they like pushing the wood cover, and they like pushing, that's my son's company in Southern California. Okay. All right. I'll check it out, man. I appreciate you dropping. But either way, you'll notice a lot of these fish will push to isolated pieces of wood cover. Now, whether that's a stump sticking up out of the water, whether that's a lay down that's over there by itself, but they like getting around, it seems like isolated targets, something that's a little different on your bank, whether that could be just a little tree limb in the water, one isolated dock that's a pole dock instead of a floating dock or anything like that. So, when it comes to fishing that stuff and targeting those heavy cover areas, I like going with a jig. So, you guys who've been on the channel for a while know that I love football head jigs. This time of year, I really like a ball head. Okay, so something that comes through cover very, very easily that's made to flip through cover. It's got a thick weed guard and stuff like that on it. And the War Eagle Heavy Finesse jig is going to be the one that I typically choose. I always have a jig tied on. Love throwing it year round, fall and winter, or special times. Yes, sir, they are. And I will be honest with you, most of the time during the fall, especially when we're in that transitionary period where the water temps are really starting to get close to that 70 and dipping down, between 67 to 70, I struggle a lot, which I'm a power fisherman, but I typically have to cover a whole lot of water to find some active fish that are looking to really, really eat, not just those little spots that like to come up and just take the pinchers off of your jig or, just slap at your bait and stuff. So, that's kind of what these baits are focused around is what I do during the fall. But having a jig tied on, like he said, is a great way. You can still cover a lot of water, but you can really pitch in and, find those isolated targets. We ended up third in a tournament Saturday, and that tournament that we fished, that benefit tournament, we didn't find those fish or really start putting our bag together until around 1 o'clock. And we had to weigh in at 2:30, so we didn't have but about an hour and 30 minutes. But that's one of the things that we found was we kind of had to get off to an area, find some different watercolor, and then find those areas that were kind of isolated away from everything else. And it really, really paid off. So subscribe. I went to Big Lot store in 1990s. They were so cheap. Lures now they're yeah, I know. Yeah, Big Lots is gone, unfortunately. Uh, um, I didn't know Big Lots sold fishing stuff though. Back a long time ago when I was a kid and just getting my own house and stuff, that's where we bought our furniture because it was always cheaper. What's your technique for winter fall jig fishing? So that's a great question. Every year I do a jig fishing video typically for each individual season. During the winter, I don't really want to. I don't really want to. Hold on just a second. There we go. I don't really want to do anything crazy like during the summer when those water temperatures come up. So I'm not trying to pop that jig. I'm not trying to make it act real erratic. Most of the time, I just do two simple techniques, okay? Number one, I'm going to throw whatever jig I prefer, but I'm always going to throw a grub or like a Reactions Innovation Sweet Beaver, but I'm not going to pull the pinchers off, okay? So I'm keeping everything compact and keeping everything subtle. When I throw that bait out there, 99% of the time, I'm going to drag that bait. Whether that's taking my rod from a 10 o'clock to a 2 o'clock, I'm typically not going to lift that much. I'm typically trying to just make it kind of scurry across the bottom. Every now and again, especially before those water temperatures get down like below 60 degrees, I will take and just slow reel that bait. And as I slow reel it, it'll just kind of tick across the bottom and stuff like that. So, to me, it just triggers a lot more reaction bites. The slow dragging process, all that, I really have a hard time doing it. So typically, if I'm throwing a jig during the winter, it's going to be to get like one big bite, or it's going to be it's just tough fishing, and I can't get fish to bite on anything moving. One of my favorite baits to use during the winter time when that water temperature gets below 60 degrees is swim baits. I absolutely love swim baits. I love the rage swimmers. I catch a ton of fish off of I catch a ton of fish off the rage swimmers during the winter, and I can cover a lot of water, so which is typically what I prefer to do. So either way, guys, if y'all ain't got any more questions, those are my baits for November. It's very, very simple this month. I don't really have anything special to throw at y'all. Maybe, if you do get on a very, very struggling bite going up into creeks and stuff like that, try like a tail spinner or something like that. If you're not sure what that is, look that up on Tackle Warehouse. Great it's a great bait. Johnny Lamb, yeah, man, appreciate it too, buddy. But maybe try a tail spinner. But those is pretty much all I'm going to be throwing pretty much until the water temperature hits below 60 degrees. So, either way, I appreciate y'all stopping by. Got some new videos coming to y'all Sunday, 4 o'clock. I've got a review video that I've got done. It'll be not this weekend, but next weekend. Make sure to check that out, especially if you're looking to buy some electronics or something like that for your family members for December or Christmas, whatever. But, either way, guys, I appreciate it. See you later.